Okay, so we started academic writing and we looked at quite a lot of things, how to write academic writing, how do you get to present the structure and everything. And we also looked at critical thinking, we also looked at reasoning, logic. We looked at some reasoning fallacies or some errors which we get to see in reasoning, like hard homonyms. We looked at a lot of things. So we need to understand those things because they're very, very important when it comes to DME and just how to apply them in real life. So now I want to understand the last part of academic writing is writing a report. Okay, so we know that a report is simply a presentation of what happened. It might be what you saw or an experiment which was done. So you want to make people aware of it, so you get to write a report. And in school, you are going to be doing a lot of report writing, like in biology, in physics, in chemistry. You are going to be having like labs almost every week. So you'll be writing reports every time and again. So there's a certain outline in which you need to present a report. And if you don't present in such a manner, even if you've written sense, you might just be denied of any mark because you've not followed the right outline of a report. Okay, some useful tips. Make the finding objective. So when you are writing a report, one thing that is very important, even as you are going to be doing your biology reports, chemistry, physics, you report facts. Don't report what you think about something because they are going to need you to give a reference. So a reference will mean that this is where I got the information from. So if you write something from your head, well, you're going to get it wrong. So that's why you need to what? Make findings objective. Okay? Where you are going to report facts and not how you feel, not what you think, and make it readable. Use headings and appropriate spacing. Not where you start writing like from the very beginning to the very end, you don't have any comma. Imagine you don't have paragraphs, like it's just a disorderly. So it should be readable, and something that is readable means you should have proper headings, okay, subheadings, some spacings, paragraphs, nice sentences that is readable, and also vary the sentence length. So you should have short sentences to help to emphasize a point. You should have also long sentences used to develop an argument. Now, pay attention to this because a question can just develop from here, like the way they get to ask questions in DME. What sentence is used to emphasize a sentence or a point, and what sentence is used to develop an argument. So you've seen that short sentences are used to what? To emphasize a point. When there's something that you just want people to make sure that they understand. So you get to use a short sentence. Now a long sentence is used to develop an argument. You want to, like, you are trying to support your point, right? You are trying to support your point. So to make sure that it is beyond the doubt of people who are listening to you or people who are reading, you explain everything possible to convince them, because this is an argument. For example, in a debate, you need to make sure that your point is valid. And how do you validate it? You make sure that you are going to speak more about it, all right, to qualify it. And also use shorter paragraphs for clarity. So just make sure that you use shorter paragraphs just to be clear. Shouldn't be that long paragraphs. Now, also ensure correctness. Okay, correctness just in the kind of writing, like the words you are writing, the scenes, even just the data that you are presenting. Make sure that it is generally correct. That is what is important when you're writing a report. Okay, apart from that, make sure that use numbering for easy reference. Okay, use numbering. If you let's say you come to a subheading or to something like a certain subtopic, you number it so that someone is going to refer to it very fast. Okay, number what or page what. So that is a numbering, just so that people will be able to easily refer to that page. Imagine you've written a book, You just say it is 365 pages. And then inside you don't have page numbers. How can someone, now if someone tells me go and read on page so, how am I going to read that if you've not numbered that? Okay, so that is why there is importance in numbering. And also it is important to use visual attractiveness. Okay, when you're talking about visual attractiveness, is use a variety of illustrations. For example, you need to use some diagrams, illustrations, graphs, tables, pie charts. Those they just get to add attractiveness to your report. Especially tables, we are going to be using them a lot of times in writing reports, because diagrams, this is something that you are writing yourself. You might not be able to use diagrams, for example, drawing things like that. Okay, but you'll be also drawing, like, for example, cells. Now, qualities of a good report. So a good report, one, very, very important, it should have accurate information. Imagine you're talking about an incident of someone who was bashed, someone who died, and all you are presenting is what you think. I think what caused the accident was the one who was coming in this direction was drunk. No, you don't present a report like that. You should make sure that there is accurate information, because you are reporting for people to learn or for people to know. So that is why you need to make sure that the information is accurate, not what you think or feel. And also clarity. Clarity in a report pays attention to the overall form or choice of words. Make sure that you are clear in the way you are writing. So, generally, are you clear in the way you've written your report, or even the choice of words? Okay, the kind of words that you choose to bring out a point should make sure that they clarify a point, because some words have got different meanings, even though they are similar. So make sure that the choice of your words will make sure that your report is clear. And also the sentence and paragraph construction should be clear. How are you developing your sentences? How are you developing your paragraphs? It should be that clear for people to get to understand what you're writing. Okay, one thing that is also very important is coherence in writing. Just in any kind of writing, there should be coherence. Now, what does coherence mean? You need to pay attention to this, because I've seen a lot of questions just on that. Okay, coherence refers to the logical and continuous relationship of the part to another one. So when you're writing, for example, paragraphs or let's say sentences, they should be able to agree, like you have that skill of getting to connect sentences or connecting paragraphs. Okay, for example, one paragraph is talking about you coming from the market to your home, and then another one says, okay, from home I continued doing this. Not you coming from the from home. Okay, from there you coming from home. That was the first paragraph. The next paragraph, you are born. How is that even connecting? Because it's supposed to be you being born first, and then that's when you'll be even going to your home. So there should be that logical connection and logical relationship between one part of your writing to the other. So you can also write indirect speeches, and so unless an informal one, okay, an informal writing, you mostly don't use indirect speeches. So indirect speeches, these are also called is it reported speeches? Okay, so you are trying to say not directly what someone said, but it's not really, can I say report? So indirect, not exactly what someone said. For example, I'm saying, uh, I will beat you if you don't come early. If you want to write it directly, you are going to write it like that. I will beat you if you don't come early, Mwanza said. But in indirect speech, you are going to say, Mwanza said he would beat her or he would beat him if she never came early. So that is an indirect speech. So you need to make sure that you get to use also those. Okay, in a formal writing. And also reports are usually confidential, that you need to pay attention to it. Okay, they are usually confidential, meaning that they are for a specific thing. It's not for anything or exposure. That exposure, that is confidentiality. Like only a specific group of people or permitted people can view it. Okay, one thing that you also need to pay to attention to is conciseness. To be concise means to be just straight to the point. You are not using so much long sentences to explain just a point. So just a short paragraph, you explain a point, but it is clear. That is to be concise. Okay, you are clear, but you are not using too many words. So you also need to make sure that you write only what is relevant, not everything. After after he was bashed, people came. After people came, they started shouting, "He's bashed, he's bashed." No, you can't be writing like that. So only write what is what relevant. And you also need to make sure that you are courteous. Okay, you have got that common courtesy. You are using a language that is going to more like appreciate the reader, also consider the reader, also the one who will be reading your report. All right, so before we talk about more, are we good at this point, or there is any need for any clarity? No, the one who is following even left. All right, so we need to make sure that also our reports are objective. Okay, objectivity. So do not let personal feelings sway your judgment, because there are some things that you feel about something. For example, you are trying to report something, and because this is your feeling about it, you don't write what you're supposed to write, but instead your feelings take you away. You just start writing about how you feel. No, that is not right in report writing and in just any academic writing. So that is to be objective. Make sure that you remain intact and just follow the objective of your writing, and don't let what you feel about your about that certain subject that you're writing about take your concentration away. Remember, you are writing things that you've got also evidence. Okay, that is why you need to make sure that you've got accurate information. So most the feelings don't give us accurate information. Apart from that, there's also need for completeness. So check the aim of the report. Make sure you have covered all the aspects of it. So this is my aim. My aim is to see all the organelles in a cell. So after at the end of my writing, I need to make sure that the writing is complete, or my report is complete. That's why I need to check the aim. Okay. We also need to make sure that we are consistent. Now, what does consistency mean? Consistency means you remain on the viewpoint, or you remain consistent with the information or the style of your presentation. You're not turning away. If you are using British English, I want to give this example. Remain with the British English, don't go to the American English. Okay? And if you are in this kind of style, if your style is inspirational, make sure that you remain in an inspirational style. Not again you change, you go in another style. No. So that is to be consistent. Make sure that as you get to write, you are consistent. Now, what is the structure of a schematic report? So when you're writing a report, one thing that you should have is where the report is going to and where it is coming from. You're also going to put the date of your report and also the subject. These are very important things to always remember when you're writing a report. Where it is going to, where it is coming from, the date, and also the subject. Okay, you also need to have terms of reference. I remember such a question in one exam question. Terms of reference. Now, what are terms of reference? So terms of reference are the instructions on which the report has been written. Okay, what are the instructions? Why did you write this report? So the instructions on which the report has been written are what we call terms of reference, and they include who asked for the report. Okay, what it investigates, what is the report investigating, when was it requested, okay, even possibly a call for recommendation, what do you think should be done? So those are called terms of reference. So these are some things that a report should include. Okay, the terms of reference, that is the instruction on which the report has been written. So for example, a general wording, so terms of reference, you will say this report was requested by, you say the one who requested. It investigates, okay, very often some problem area. So you are going to say it investigates this area. You talk about that area that it is going to investigate. This report was requested on, to be submitted by. So those are what we call terms of reference. If you consider what we are talking about in the terms of reference is who asked, this report was requested by, that is talking about who asked, when it, what it investigates, and then it investigates, you state when it was requested, this report was requested on, you get to state that. Okay, to be submitted by, you state the one who is going to submit that. So those are terms of references. Now another thing when you're writing a report are the procedures. Now what are procedures? Procedures are just the methods by which the investigation has conducted, usually stated in passive voice. Okay, the methods by which the investigation was conducted, usually stated in passive voice. So that's the methods by which the investigation was conducted. Maybe interviews, personal observation, research, or questionnaires, or questionnaires. So those are procedures. That's the methods by which the investigation was what conducted. So you are trying to conduct this research. Maybe you are doing an interview, or maybe you just saw a situation, or maybe you did a research, or maybe you just asked questions that were questionnaires. So those are procedures. Okay. Now there's also general wording. So general wording, interviews were conducted with, or questionnaires were conducted to, were distributed to, or the authors gathered information through. So this, what we're talking about are the procedures. So the procedures through which you got that information. So we're going to state it also. Interviews were conducted with, or questionnaires were distributed to, or the authors gathered information through. So that is what that is talking about, the procedures that you use to collect that information which is written. And also now you're going to write the findings. Okay, that is one important thing. So the body of your report, those are your findings now. So these are the facts which are discovered in the investigation. They are going to include what you find from interviewing people, what you observe from personal visit, what you discover in the course of research, what insight you get from the answers on the sample groups. Okay, so those are your findings. So all you are trying to present about are your findings are on the same report that you are trying to present. Okay, so visual illustrations in the form of graphs, tables, pictures must be also included on your findings. Okay, for example, you are trying to find out about maybe the statistics on the number of people with maybe coronavirus. So you can present in tables. You talk of the males, the females, maybe you talk about this age group, the young, the old. So you can present in tables like that. So those are going to be your findings. And then now you're going to have your conclusion. Okay, your conclusion now includes your interpretation of the facts or findings. So how do you interpret your findings? So this should be a logical conclusion that you thought about it, and you should be able to answer the M. Okay, what did you start with? What did you really want to discover about? So you should be able to answer the M. It should be informed opinions, not just the opinions that are just from thought, but informed opinions derived from thoughtful assessment and judgment. You've really thought about this. So you've seen we've got first the terms of that's the first thing that we started with. As you are getting to write your report, you have got the terms of reference. So the terms of reference will basically be in the opening page of your of your report. Okay, that will be more like in the introduction. You're going to have now the procedures. What methods did you use to collect the information? And then you have got now your findings, what you discovered, and now you have got your conclusion. Now you need to note that Findings are facts. By nature, they cannot be argued. These are findings, okay? They are facts, not what you think. Conclusions are interpretations. So for conclusions, they could be argued. All right. So another thing that you need also to include in your report are recommendations. So the recommendations mostly are going to come in the conclusion. So the recommendations will include your suggestions for correcting the problem, or things to do, like what action can you take. For example, talking about COVID-19, you've seen that there are a lot of numbers of sick people. What action can be taken to reduce those? Okay, you need to make sure that you make them specific, appropriate, trip specific, number and itemize them separately. So you need to make sure that you put items, okay, this and this. These are some things that maybe would be suggested or maybe should be done. Okay, you need to make sure that you number them. So the general wording, you can say, after interviewing, observing, and conducting the investigation, it is recommended that. So this is a general you can give when you want to give your recommendations. After interviewing or observing and conducting the investigation, it is recommended that this should be done, this and this. Okay, or you can say, after thorough research and conducting investigations, we recommend that you do this and this. And then now at the end, you're going to put your signature or your signatures if it is a group of people who are writing that report. So that is the outline of a report. Very, very important. Okay. So other things that we need to understand in academic writing are statistical analysis or interpretative reading and writing. So when you're interpreting, you're just going to see like signs. You barely have words, or the words are very few, but you want to get meaning from there. So pictures are effective means of learning. Okay, like if you are just teaching and teaching without people being able to see it, it can be a bit difficult for people to be able to learn. So pictures are very, very effective means of learning. So pictures are easily understood and remembered because someone has seen and it will be taken on by the brain. So statistical data presented pictorially or graphically give readers a quick impression of overall trends and relationship between figures. So using symbols and colors. Symbols are usually used to warn or restrict. That is how we use symbols. Remember, we are saying pictures are an effective way of learning, because imagine if you have got just the same signs which are there to stop people on some junctions, for example. Those signs, the red, the green, the yellow. Imagine if they were not there. There were words to say stop. A vehicle is coming and then it says stop, start. It is very difficult for someone to read, like to read. But because of colors, people know that this color means stop, this color means continue. It is very much easier for people to be able to follow that. So symbols are usually used to warn or restrict. An important element in communication through symbols is the use of colors. Okay, for example, green means safety and escape, red means stop and fire, just like when you're talking about road traffic. We also have photographs. So these are most clear and convincing of all visuals because they seem to be so real and true. So photographs seem to be so real and they seem to be so true. A picture speaks 1,000 words, they say. So photographs are the most clear. So if they ask the question, which of the following is the most clear way of convincing, okay, of all visuals? So photographs are there. Okay, they are the most clear and convincing of all the visuals. When you're talking of visuals, these are just things we are able to see. Okay, we can use for presentation. You are trying to present, but you need people to be able to see. So you use visuals or visual aids. We also have drawings and diagrams. So drawings focus on important details, while diagrams support the drawings or photographs. Well-drawn and well-labeled diagrams are often essential for complete understanding. So when I'm talking about drawings and diagrams, the drawing is going to focus on important details. For example, you are going to draw a cell including also the organelles, okay? But a diagram is going to support the drawing itself, okay, or the photograph. So when you get to draw and you well label your drawing, that is very, very essential for complete understanding. It's actually much easier to understand something that is being drawn than something that has been written in words. Other thing is tables. So tables also condense a great deal of information in a brief form to act as a quick reference or be easily understood. Imagine I wanted to write all of this. Okay, I've got a level, I've got survivors, percentages, offender, and percentage age. Now I want to write all this in words. It would take up a lot of space and it would exhaust me. So to make sure that I quickly write something that can be easily understood and for a quick reference, a table is best used. Okay, something that can be easily understood. We also have graphs and bar charts. So a graph immediately shows high and low points. For example, this one, like in medical studies or just in a hospital, you are seeing these lines. So they are going to show you high and low points. That's a graph. It will show changes occurring also. It is also going to enable comparison to be easily made. For example, it will show in 2017, this is what happened. In 2018, maybe you see a very long line. In 2019, you see a very short line. In 2020, you see. So we're going to be seeing where there are improvements, where there are also decreases. So that is the importance of using a graph. Okay, it is there for easy comparison for what is happening and what happened. So single or multiple bars can be used and the information can be plotted vertically or horizontally. You can also use bars like this one which has been presented here. So information can be presented horizontally or vertically, it doesn't matter. Okay. So bar charts include scales which may be used in the same way as graph scales. So when you're talking about a bar chart or a graph, all those can be used in the same way to represent information that can be used to for easy comparison. For example, we're going to draw a circle like that and then we're going to divide. Okay, we're going to see something like this. So maybe the percentage of nitrogen in the atmosphere, will see that is 78, oxygen is 21, carbon dioxide 0.03. So just looking at the table, we're going to see that nitrogen takes up the biggest percentage of the atmosphere, just like that. So it is used for easy comparison, okay? And it is going to show uh, high and low points like that. So this is how you're able to use also those. Okay, an example, you have a pie chart here. So a pie chart is often accompanied by a table showing the figures and percentage used in preparing the chart. And also come with colors able to see. So that is just a key to be able to understand. So this color is representing this color is representing this, and this is representing this percentage. And I think just from angles, we're able to calculate the percentages. We can see this is almost 180. So it means that this trait takes about almost half of the whole population. Okay. So sectors of a pie chart are normally arranged in a clockwise direction, meaning that we go in this direction. That's a clockwise direction. Shading or coloring enhances the appearance of the pie chart and highlights the contrast. So it is important to get to shade just the pie charts. They're just there to make sure that they highlight, okay, and also get to differentiate between two different traits like that. All right. So even in conclusion, we've been talking about academic writing. So critical thinking is going to enable one to make concise decision based on fact more than on opinion. So if one is a critical thinker, they are going to make decisions based on fact and not opinion. So critical thinking also exposes one's thinking, okay, to many possibilities leading to a justified conclusion. So if one is a critical thinker, they are going to think in many angles because they're thinking in so many angles, they're going to make a conclusion that is justified. Academic writing requires critical thinking, as an individual collects, organizes, and uses evidence to support one's thesis or idea. So if you're not a critical thinker in academic writing, you might just write what you are thinking, and that would be not good. So editing and proofreading are skills which are very important in academic writing and just in any professional field. Because as you get to write, you need to make sure that you edit, you proofread, you read through to see any mistake that you have in your writing. All right. So these are some references when it comes to academic writing. When you want to read more, you are able to to check out some of these books on academic writing.